Hi guys, Deb Acker here, back with another video. The title of today's video is How to Trust That You Will Meet the One. So for those of you guys who are new to my work, I'm an intuitive coach and I work mainly with women to help them to heal their past, heal their childhood patterns, specifically around abandonment and the abandonment that can show up when we have physically and or emotionally unavailable parents, right? And I want to talk today about trust, really, and trusting, and where really not trusting gets rooted in, and then give you a ton of tools to really start to root in that trust so that you can trust that not only are you going to meet the one, right, but you're just going to have a really wonderful and happy life, right? Because we are all meant to be happy in this world and happy in this life. So first and foremost, looking back at, where we learn not to trust, this can get rooted in many places, of which two of those places are, depending on how our parents show up for us, we learn not to trust them, maybe not to trust that they're actually going to be there for us, right? Or, not to trust that they have our back, or not to, trust that they're actually going to be reliable in some way. That's a lot of times it can show up in, one of those ways. So again, if you had a parent who had an addiction, right, you might have learned, okay, they weren't reliable, right? Or you couldn't count on them to be, at a school function, right? And, or you couldn't count on them to be consistent, right? On the flip side, if you had a parent that was physically unavailable, again, you still may have learned that you couldn't rely on them, right? That you couldn't count on them in some way, that, maybe they would be at that school function and maybe they wouldn't if they got stuck at work late, right? Or if work got prioritized over you. So first and foremost, notice that. Now, the second level of this is actually, depending on what kind of abandonment you had in your life, and I want you to notice if this is true for you, but depending on what kind of abandonment you had in your life, you may have also made a decision that you couldn't trust if you believe in something bigger than you, right? Whether it's God, source, universe, however you define it, right? But you may have made a decision that you couldn't trust God. So, my version of that was when my mom died when I was 17, a huge thing that happened for me subconsciously was that I made a decision that, God had let me down in that moment, right? And that I couldn't trust God, right? And actually kind of put my mom in the role of God in that moment again, just because that was sort of like, it felt safer and I felt like she had my back. And even though God had let me down, like she would still be there for me, on the other side to be able to guide me. So again, notice your version of that and notice if you have any part of you. This is a really common one. And then this can show up in so many areas of our life, including relationship, but it can also show up in our jobs and with money, not believing that, God, source, universe has our back. So again, just noticing, did you make some sort of subconscious decision, or does this feel true to you on some level that you made a decision you couldn't trust God, source, universe, again, however you define it, right? Or if there's no God for you, again, that might be a place where you made a decision at some point in your childhood that, God doesn't exist, right? Or God doesn't have your back. So just noticing that. And then as we go into our adult world and into our adult reality, a lot of times, and especially if we keep getting let down in relationship over and over and over again, a lot of times what can happen, right, is that we, again, just make a decision we can't trust. And, I don't know if this is going to happen, right? And, kind of all different kinds of versions of that. So, with that too, I want you to notice, do you have a paradigm of that playing out in your world, right? In some way, are you unsure, like, God has your back and that, you get to meet the one, right? You get to have, again, that happy, awesome, amazing life, right? And so how we start to rewire this, there's so many different ways to rewire this. I'm going to give you several here, but understand that there's a gazillion more besides the ones that I'm going to give you in this video. But one of the ways that you can start to rewire this, right, is to find the ways in your life that you already feel supported. Right? So whether, that's with your job, or the money you're making, right? With your friendships, maybe it's in a family relationship, whether it's with a parent or grandparent or even a sibling, right? So find those ways that you feel supported and really, if you can, take that in your body, right? Allow yourself to really feel it, right? Feel it in all different kinds of ways. And then with this too, I encourage you to see all relationships as supporting you. Right? So, even the relationships that are hard, even the relationships that are toxic, we can see those as supporting us as either that they're showing parts, within us that, that can help us to grow, right? They are helping us to grow the way that they are. They're helping us to set boundaries. If they're toxic and you want to walk away, right? It's helping you to set a boundary. And, when we start to see every single thing as either growth or it works out for us, right? We move into an abundance mindset. Right? And so that's something that's so huge, and it's just a really awesome shift in perspective. But when you can also just see all your relationships as serving you, right? Because every single time, I did a whole video on this, right? But every single time, that we get triggered or we get hurt in relationship, if we take that and we allow it to shift something within us, if we take that and we allow it to help us to grow, then, that can create a huge shift for us. And then what happens is we keep drawing in, attracting that next level person in our lives, which is freaking awesome, right? And then also just in general, in addition to finding the ways that you feel supported in your world, right? Look for the abundance of good and goodness and good men and or women, depending on, like who you're drawn to, right? Who you're attracted to. Find those people in your life, right? See it, right? Allow yourself to really see it. So see the goodness in the world. Like, so when you see someone do something kind, whether it's, a man or woman or whatever, like, take that in, but then also take it in, say for instance, if a man opens the door for you, right? Or they carry your groceries for you, take that in, because in part, that's us taking in just how supported we are, right? That there are people in this world, at least for that 1 second, that we could trust, right? Where we were actually supported in that 1 second and in that 1 minute. And then, if you struggle with the relationship with your parents, can you find even one nice thing that they've done for you in the recent past? So whether that's a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year, right? But can you find one nice thing? So, maybe on one side, you have a very challenging relationship and you guys fight a lot. But maybe, the flip side of that, right? Maybe they, anytime you need money, they loan you money, right? So just noticing for you, where that goodness lies in your relationship, if it's possible at all. It may or may not be possible, but if it is possible, again, that's just one way that we amplify it in our life, right? That's one way we say, okay, I can start to trust, right? And then also with this, like being willing to feel that pain or that letdown in your life by God or source of the universe, again, however you define it. And also the disappointment that the person, isn't already in your life. So, saying, for instance, when I say feeling the pain of being let down by God, say, for instance, right? For me, I had to do a lot of work around feeling let down by God when my mom passed away, right? And it didn't start right away, right? It started many years later, but when I finally realized, oh my gosh, I felt so let down, and then I just made a decision like God would never support me, I had to really be willing to feel that pain and feel that hurt and honor it, right? And again, I talk about this a lot of times in my videos, but even if for just 30 seconds or a minute, you can sit with that, like that pain of like, oh my gosh, why did you have to let, for me, I would say, why did you have to let my mom die, right? Why did you have to let my mom die, right? And again, as you're saying this stuff out loud or you're feeling it, you want to just see it leaving your body or feel it leaving your body. Just knowing too that even if you don't see that, know it's working for you, right? And then just also with this too, being willing to feel the disappointment that person specifically isn't in your life, right? So if you can feel that disappointment of like, oh, I just want to meet this person already, I'm just ready for this, right? And if you're willing to sit with that and be with that, right? That's something that's huge. And again, biggest and best, just find those places in life where you are supported by the universe, source, and God, and you are supported, right? So it's like even just finding, I used to always joke that I had awesome parking karma when I lived in Chicago, right? And I spell karma with a C. But, I used to always joke about this, but it was true, but it was just something, it's just one way that I could see that I was supported, right? Getting a new job was, a job that I loved, right? It was another way that I could see that I was supported. Meeting a new friend that was awesome was another way that I could see myself supported. So finding all of those places and just really celebrating those and knowing, the more that you do that and the more that you allow that to grow, the more you're going to attract that in your life. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying these videos, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And then also to make sure you grab my Healing Through Abandonment kit, which you'll find the link below. And if you're wanting to dive deeper, head to deboraacker.com. So until next time, I hope you have a great rest of your afternoon, and I look forward to seeing you.